I'm now in the Pride of the Paddock area with Doug Martin. Good afternoon, Doug, and welcome to Race Retro 2020.
Yes, it's a nice show. Very pleased with the collection of cars they've got.
And we've got the Hillegass special again.
Yeah.
So it's up for sale this time, I believe.
It is, I'm afraid. I've had 5 years of racing it, and I'm just slowing down a bit, and the pension fund needs topping up, so it has to go, unfortunately. But it's a great little car, built by Hiram Hillegass in 1937, based on Ford V8 axles, but with a Ford Model B engine. So it's a very sensible pre-war car. Parts are easy to obtain, speed equipment's still available for it. It's a very reliable little car. It's won a few races for me. The VSCC are very pleased to see it in their paddock. It features quite often in the VSCC magazine, the Bulletin. Yeah. It's quite a photogenic car, a very pretty car.
It is a pretty car, isn't it? Yeah. So have you done anything to it at all, or is it basic as it was?
No, it's almost as it was. It was found in a Pennsylvania barn back in the early 90s by a guy called Kenny Behrens, who rebuilt it. But in typical American fashion, he kind of chromed bits and pieces. He didn't stick to originality in the engine. So I bought it from Ohio, I think in 2013. And when we got it back, we raced it a couple of times as it was, but we quickly took it to pieces, unchromed. Things like the steering arms and things that were all chromed. So we undid all of that. There was a big chrome rollover bar on it. We took that off. And the engine was a bog standard Model B engine, because Kenny just did demo laps with it. So I found another block and built a quick engine. They're an easy engine to tune, and all the hot rod guys keep the speed equipment alive and sensibly priced.
So what size is the engine?
It's 3.3 litres.
Really?
So yeah, it's a powerful unit. Yeah. We reckon this gives us about 96 brake horsepower and lots of torque. It only revs to 4,000 revs is about its limit, but at 4,000 revs we're doing 98 miles an hour. Rear wheel brakes only. It's a great car, very exciting to drive, but very stable.
So, and it was the second one he built?
It's believed to be the second one he built. Yeah. He went on after the war to build something like 240 race cars. He concentrated on three-quarter midgets. This is what they call a big car. Right. This has got full-size axles and a full-length wheelbase. Yeah. But after the war, he concentrated on V8 engined three-quarter midgets, and he and Curtis, the big name, and they were really the two top boys in the three-quarter midgets. And Hiram really came out on top most of the time. Interestingly, one of the other techniques that Hiram developed was mass production of cars. He was the first guy to produce molds to make the body panels. For example, that tail section, he built a concrete mold for it, the exact shape he wanted, concrete. So then he just got sheets of aluminium, beat them down onto the concrete, welded them where they butted together. So if you dented a back end on yours, you phoned up Hiram and said, "Can I have another one?" And it should fit, because they all came off the same mold. So he's credited with being one of the guys that first developed this technique. The other interesting thing with Hiram is this little piece of steel down here, which when I bought the car and rebuilt it, we just didn't know what that was. So because it doesn't do anything by the look of it. So eventually we with a bit of
which one's
this one here.
Oh yeah,
this
okay.
piece of metal here.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to stiffen the front axle. It doesn't hold it. There's a radius arm to do that. And until we did some research, we discovered that Hiram developed this. As these were mostly dirt oval cars, all left-hand ovals, these right-hand wheels and hubs used to break and shear. And when the hub broke, the axle just dug into the dirt and flipped the cars over and killed people.
Yeah.
Well, Hiram is credited with inventing it. All it is a skid.
Yeah.
So you break that wheel and it just skids on the dirt instead of
I see.
simple as that.
Yeah.
But they reckon he saved a lot of lives with it.
Yeah. And probably through that, people might have been put off by the car when they saw these being tossed over.
Yeah,
and then when he put that on, it's probably kept production going.
Yeah, absolutely. But these guys that race these in periods, they made quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
Most of them got start money for,
Really?
certainly if you were a quickish driver.
Yeah.
And there would be at least 2 or 3 or 4 county fairs on which had a half-mile oval everywhere.
Yeah.
So you could almost choose where you went.
Yeah.
But the death rate was horrendous. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
So you've raced it for 5 years, that's right.
For 5 years.
Mainly VSCC meeting.
All VSCC, they granted me what they call a buff form, which is their approval,
Right.
and that allows me to race it with them. It's very popular with them. More often than not, it features in their bulletin every quarter. There's a photo of it in very photogenic car, as you can imagine.
So what series do you race in?
Well, this is classed as a standard pre-war race car.
Right.
So in theory that puts me in against Alters, ERAs, really quick stuff. There's no way I'm anywhere near that. But the VSCC have these wonderful 5-lap handicaps, and they are just wonderful races.
Yeah.
The handicap sits down, works out. In theory you should all finish at
together.
once. And actually, I think it was 2 years ago, we won the handicap at Mallory, and the first 12 cars crossed the finish line within 4 seconds. They really got it right that time. But they're great fun, because great
Well,
fun.
it gives everybody a chance, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So you can have an Austin 7, you can have an almost bog standard Austin 7, and you might get a lap and 30 seconds on some of the guys that behind you. So they've really got to push on in 5 laps to catch you. Great fun.
Yeah. Oh well, I hope you sell it. Probably reluctantly, but
Absolutely reluctantly, but needs must. And I do have another one. I do have a 1928 sprint car, so I won't be without one.
well, thanks very much for the interview, Doug, and I hope you're successful selling it.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you.
now.
That's